It's a clear evening at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida, and on your screen is a live view of Falcon 9 as it prepares for its 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida. My name is Shiva, and I'm a Falcon Integration and Test Engineer here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, and welcome to our launch coverage of the JCSat-18 Pacific 1 mission. Now today we're launching a single high-throughput communications satellite with two payloads aboard, or two sets of communication equipment. One of the payloads is for SkyPerfect JSat and the other for Pacific. We'll hear a little bit more about that later on in today's coverage. Now at this point, we're just under T-minus 12 minutes and counting with all systems currently go, so let's take a closer look at Falcon 9 on the pad. Starting from the base of the rocket and working our way up, we have the first stage, atop that the second stage, and finally at the very top are our payload fairings, which encapsulate the satellite. Now the first stage makes up the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle, and it accelerates the rocket from the launch pad to the edge of the Earth's atmosphere using its 9 Merlin engines. Today's first stage is a little bit sooty, and that's because it previously flew 2 Dragon resupply missions earlier this year, CRS-17 and CRS-18. Today makes its third flight. We'll be attempting to recover this first stage on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed about 350 nautical miles off the east coast of Florida. Now, above the black composite inner stage sits our second stage, and its job is to carry the satellite into orbit. The second stage will separate from the first stage about 2.5 minutes into flight, and then it'll ignite its Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. For today's mission, MVAC will ignite twice to carry the JCSat-18 Pacific 1 satellite to a geosynchronous transfer orbit. The first ignition should happen shortly after stage separation, and the second about 27.5 minutes into flight. Finally, the very top of the rocket is our nose cone structure called the payload fairing. It's 17 feet in diameter, and it protects the satellite from the atmospheric forces, heating, and contamination that occurred during liftoff and ascent. Once we're at the edge of space, we'll jettison the fairing halves back to the Earth about 3.5 minutes into the flight. Now we are attempting to recover both the fairing halves today on our recovery vessels, Miss Tree and Miss Chief. Our hope is to catch one of the halves in Miss Tree's net and the other in Miss Chief's. We will not have live coverage of the fairing recovery attempt, but please stay tuned to our social media for updates as we receive them.
Okay. I'll just turn that down. That far down. Okay, so it's been quite a while since my last stream. Hey, Nibbles. So, yeah. The Windows watermark. That's probably the first thing you noticed. This is from my, I'm assuming this is from my new computer. It does not have Windows activated on it. That's probably not going to go away anytime soon. Hopefully it's not too distracting or in the way. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, let's turn the volume back up a little bit.
Everything was a go, so F9 began prop loading 3 minutes later at T-minus 35 minutes. For our propellants, we use oxidizer and fuel. The oxidizer is super chilled liquid oxygen, also called blocks.
Yeah, Nibbles, it's been too long.
Grade kerosene, or RP1. Second stage is fully loaded with its fuel, while first
you didn't
stage
notice
is on
it?
track to complete fuel load about 6 minutes before launch. Liquid oxygen is loading currently. Liquid oxygen is currently underway on both stages.
Is it on stream for you? It's on my preview.
Oxygen, lowering the LOX's temperature,
it's fine.
Its
yeah.
And gives Falcon 9 increased efficiency.
It's just in the way. I'll get rid of it eventually. I'll activate Windows at some point, but
still on the ground, so we don't complete liquid oxygen loading until the last couple of minutes.
I turned the settings up. This is a CPU that can handle streaming a bit more. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. I don't really see a difference myself. I'll probably have to turn it up even more. Let me see how much CPU it's using right now. 6%. So yeah, I've got plenty of margin to turn the stream settings up in the future. So right now we're about 7 minutes out, 7.5 minutes out.
super chill propellant that will
I think it's
keep
bottom
flying through
right.
at liftoff. We're now at T-minus 7 minutes. And
What was
20
that a
seconds.
response to?
Vehicle is healthy, and we're currently
I already
on
forgot what I
no
was
issues. The spacecraft
saying
team
at that point.
transferred the satellite to internal power at T-minus 23 minutes, so they're ready for launch and are just monitoring spacecraft telemetry. The range is go. Air and sea space has been cleared. The weather is green, and all systems continue to be go for an on-time liftoff of 7:10 p.m. Eastern.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, today
Get that
we're
after the
launching
thing.
a single satellite with 2 payloads aboard. One for Sky Perfect JSat and
What do you
the
mean,
other for
Nibbles?
Pacific.
What do you mean? I think it is
JSat
bottom
one of
right.
the largest providers of multi-channel pay TV broadcast services
What's
in
bottom
the
right?
world, operating the largest satellite communications business in Asia. The satellite we're launching today will provide Ku-band coverage and improve mobile and broadband services for customers in the Asia-Pacific region.
Oh yeah, the settings for the stream? Yeah, it is. I just can't turn it up when I'm live.
What the Sky Perfect JSat group values the most as a satellite operator is to be connected anytime, anywhere.
I think they turned some things up, but not a lot.
We operate and control geostationary satellites at 36,000 kilometers from the Yokohama Satellite Control Center and 2 other control centers nationwide.
Yeah, I can't really turn anything up.
Geostationary satellites to provide stable communications in the air and sea.
Oh, the watermark. Yeah, it's
In
down
order
here.
to provide prompt rescue and support during and after disasters, it is necessary to secure quick communication. Satellite communication is a big asset. In addition, we have partnered with low Earth orbit satellite operators, and from JAXA, we acquired small demonstration satellites. We will enter into the sensing business that collects and uses space data. For
I am streaming at 60 FPS now,
intelligence to make
and
informed
1080p.
decisions in partnership
Don't know if that
with
makes much of a
Planetapps
difference.
Incorporated, Orbital Insight Incorporated, and others. We will continue to take on the challenge of delivering smiles. Space for your
Okay.
smile.
So we're about 5 minutes now.
Sky Perfect JSat Group.
5 minutes until launch. Coming up on strong backtrack.
For Sky Perfect JSat, it's our first for Pacific.
Strong backtrack means they're just going to tilt this structure here back by about 2.5 degrees.
Asia. Today's satellite
That's just to get a. That's just to sort of prime it to prime it for the throwback, so that well, I'll go back live in a second. So that these little fuel lines up here, the umbilicals, they the whole thing throws back so it doesn't, so they don't get fried when the rocket takes off. Looks pretty crispy. Yeah. This is the 4th flight for it, I think.
Based on the Boeing 702 MP platform and supported by advanced technologies.
Pacific One delivers fast, efficient, and reliable broadband.
Because connectivity changes everything.
Education, healthcare, social services, and business.
It drives tourism, fuels economic development, and powers critical government services.
Our satellite broadband is a catalyst for change, improving people's lives, making a lasting difference to families and their communities.
I think I missed it. Did they say what country this satellite was from? Those guys were from?
We are the heart of broadband. We are Pacific.
A big thank you to the teams at Sky Perfect JSat and Pacific for all of the hard work they
I know
put into making today's
JCSat is a
We're
Japanese
currently
company.
at T-minus 3 minutes from liftoff. Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown.
I just don't remember what Pacific is.
Fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. The first stage should finish prop loading. Actually, it just finished prop loading, and at T-minus 60 seconds, you'll hear the call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. The JCSat-18 Pacific satellite continues to be healthy.
I saw a U.S. flag. They might be U.S. I don't know.
Weather is looking good, and the range
if we look closely there, I couldn't see any kind of flag or anything.
Falcon 9 is go for launch. Let's listen into the countdown minutes.
Alright, turn the volume down a little bit. Alright, so basically what we're going to happen tonight is there are two geostationary satellites in a dual berth configuration. One up here and one down here. How long is this? The launch is going to take about 10 minutes, and then there's going to be like a 30 to 40 minute coast phase, and then that'll be it. I don't know if I'll cover the coast phase and relight. So probably about 10 minutes. Yeah, dual berth payload. A big satellite up here and a smaller one down here, I think. Could be the other way around. And what makes tonight, this launch significant and unique is that they're going to attempt to recover both halves of the fairing this time, for the first time, as well as the first stage. And we're under a minute to go now. And after the 10 minutes, you know, I don't know. I don't have Sims installed on this computer yet, so I don't know. I could install that. It would take me a little bit to do that. How the heck do I know all this stuff? Pay attention for. I paid attention to this stuff. I've studied this. Study is not the right word, but following fairly closely. I'll say that for 4 years. 4 years. Install what? The Sims 4. I don't have it installed on the computer yet, so. Clean liftoff.
Liftoff of Falcon 9 carrying the JCSat-18 Pacific.
Approaching 5 kilometers and 900 kilometers per hour.
Stage 1 is now in full power. Everything looks nominal. We're now, you heard
Approaching max Q. Transonic.
approaching max Q.
You can see some of the shot cones developing there. That's the if you don't know what that means, that's basically it's the highest stress the rocket's going to experience when it's pushing against the atmosphere on the way up.
Main engine cutoff, or as you'll hear it called out, MECO, is where all 9 engines of Falcon 9 first stage shut down. You just heard the call out for back engine chill. Again, that's when we're pre-chilling those turbopumps on the second stage. Now, the MECO will be followed by stage separation, or the separation of the first and second stages. Finally, second engine start, where we'll light the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. Begin and begin to carry the satellite to its target orbit.
You should be seeing MECO somewhere around T plus 2 minutes, 30, 35, 40, somewhere around there. Oh, look, you can see now, look, it's in the sunlight up there. You see, as it goes higher, it's only a few minutes, it's only about an hour and a half past sunset over here. So once it goes above where the horizon is for the sun, it's illuminated up there, and so you can see the gases and everything illuminated, backlit by the sun. Which means that anyone at the Cape and looking towards where it is now is about to get a pretty good show.
The second stage engine begins to glow a bright orange. We have confirmation there of both stages of the stage separation and second engine start one. So on the left-hand side of your screen, that you'll see stage one.
And of course you can see Florida in the background. There's Orlando, Tampa, I think. No, St. Petersburg.
And on the right-hand side of your screen, like I said,
Daytona up here, I think. Maybe Daytona's up here.
we're coming up to fairing deployment. We jettison the fairing to shed any unnecessary weight from the second stage.
Good fairing separation, looks like.
Fairing has separated. Again, we are attempting to catch those on our recovery vessels, but we now have confirmation that the second stage is performing nominally, and we are looking good so far for today's mission.
Yeah, that was the fairing is the I won't say it's the last risky part, but it's one of the last risky parts. Anytime you have to separate things off the rocket is it's a time when things can fail. Things can go very wrong because it can not come off or come off in a way that damages something.
Successfully land, the first stage will need to do a few things. First, it'll need to reorient so its engines and heat shield enter the Earth's atmosphere first. Then it'll reignite 3 of its Merlin engines for entry burn to reduce the aerodynamic forces and heating experience as it transitions back into the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Once it's in the atmosphere, the grid fins will take over, guiding the rocket towards, of course, I Still Love You. When we're above the drone ship, a little after T+8 minutes into flight, the center Merlin engine will ignite for landing burn, followed by landing leg deploy, and hopefully a gentle touchdown on Of Course I Still Love You.
Usually get a ride on the camera on the first stage. Not this time, I guess. It should be a... there it is. It's like it's like they heard me, and they switched the camera for the entry burn.
That's the shot from the first stage. We're obviously in the Earth's shadow right now.
That's probably why they didn't show anything. It's pretty much a black screen. About to start. There's ignition.
There's relight of those 3
Outer engine ignition.
Now, fun fact, JCSat-18 was actually the first time SpaceX successfully landed a geosynchronous transfer mission on the drone ship. Since then, we've made 43 successful landings between drone ships.
Outer engine shut down. Inner engine shut down.
We're hoping to make tonight's attempt our 47th successful first.
See some re-entry heating going on the grid fins.
Joining us, the first stage just concluded its entry burn. It's on its way back to Of Course I Still Love You. The second stage is continuing its first engine burn towards Of Course
Yeah, it went over the horizon. Signal will drop out, as expected.
taking the JCSat-18 Pacific satellite
Now,
orbit around
something interesting about the entry burn and in most launches, the boost back burn, they use 3 engines. They start with 1 for control, Then they switched to 3 for, or switched 2 of the outer ones on for more thrust, so they can, because basically when you're doing burns in space, the shorter amount of time it takes, the more efficient it is. And then for controlled, they shut the outer 2 off at the end, and then they shut the center one down a few seconds later. Sometimes they do landing burns like that. Helps cut down on grav losses. Landing should be occurring right now. There it is. Looks like a safe touchdown to me.
Now, a bunch of things happened there. Secondary engine cutoff, number 1, has happened. The spacecraft is in good working position. And booster 1056 has just recovered it for the 3rd time.
Huh.
47 successful landing. Congratulations to the whole team.
I think that's the first time I ever heard them call the rocket by its serial number on the webcast. B1056. Dot 4, I believe this is.
We're going to pause live coverage for now, but we'll be back at about T+27 minutes for MVAC engine relight. Until then, please enjoy this animation of the vehicle's progress, and we'll see you back here shortly.
Alright, so now this is going to be just this screen. Wait, I wasn't full screen the whole time? No, it was full screen. Weird. Didn't know you could do that. Okay, so it's going to be probably around T+45 minutes, T+50 minutes when the they come back for the burn, or for the orbit raising burn. So I don't know. It'll also take a few minutes for the fairings to get down, so let me see about it. Let me see about... Not a whole lot I could do, actually. That's Steam. What could I play after this? Yeah, or something I could do while I'm waiting for this to go. I can see some thruster burning, some thruster puffs to settle the oxygen and the RP1 kerosene fuel in the second stage. What can I do while waiting? You know what? I'm gonna let this go for a little bit. I'll take a break, and then once it comes back, it completes the burn, separates the satellite. I'll end for an hour, or not an hour, end for a few minutes, install the sims, and we'll play that afterwards. All right. So I'm gonna mute the mic now.
passive signal Bermuda.
Hey Tody, thanks for the host. I'll be right back in a second. I'm gonna go get some water real quick. Oh, you gotta go, Nibbles. All right. I don't know if you're gonna be able to come back later or not, but I don't know if you could hear me earlier or not. What I was thinking was I'll take a break after this ends, and then and while I'm taking the break, I'll install the Sims, and we'll do that. I'm not sure if you got that through the lag, but I guess that's what we'll do. While we're waiting for this, for them to come back for the orbit raising burn, which will take place. You can see it coming up there. It takes place over the equator, just off the west coast of Africa. It'll take them probably about 30 minutes or so to get there. Maybe not that. Maybe about 15 at this point. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show... I'm going to play some Kerbal Space Program so I can show off my... show off what the, what's been the hot topic recently in, the KSP community. And that's basically drives that break physics. Let's turn this down a little bit. Not mute it, but turn it down a little bit more. There we go. Oh boy, that's a bit loud. That's better. Not sure if that's too quiet on stream now, but probably is, to be fair. I'll turn that back up a little bit. Say to 40. That's probably better. Okay, so what we've been working on for the last few days is not that. Is no, it's in the other one. Is this? No, not that one. No. Not that one. That one doesn't work. Did I get past it? There it is. That's the one. This is still unfinished. I was working on this just before I went live. Yeah, I think all I need is a radiator for those RTGs. Then we'll be good to go. Putting it there should be good enough. Save that. Let me check this out. This probably looks a bit strange, and it is a bit strange. It'll be a lot weirder once you see what we can do with this thing. I'm just checking it to make sure everything looks alright. Everything looks alright. Close that up. Close that up. I hate the way that looks. And that whole reason I put that in there doesn't matter anymore. Come on. There you go. Okay, now I can put that on the pad. I'm not going to put that... I'm not going to fly to orbit because... Not because it can't. It's perfectly capable of flying to orbit on its own. Huh. It seems that it was clipped into the launch pad. Well, let's try that again. Let's try that on the launch pad on the runway this time. I didn't mean to have Kerbals in there. You know, it's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Some frame issues probably from me streaming and having the webcast going in the background. Doesn't matter. This isn't a game where frame rate matters. We're gonna set orbit. This is where this gets a bit weird. Aim camera there. Open both of these. Doesn't matter if they're open or not. But it makes it easier to get access to the drive. Nope, nope, nope. Right, I forgot. So you can... We're gonna because I'm an idiot and forgot to do this, we're going to jig the drive ourselves on the go. We're gonna set it up. So I'll show you what this does in a second, but what the mechanism behind this is we have these pistons here, and there's one in the middle, and they extend and they push this grip pad against those landing gear. Yeah, target extension. I go in here and select the center one, target extension. And then it's very important, for this drive at least, that we target exactly 1.3. It's incredibly important that these both are exactly 1.3, because otherwise you'll have a really big problem if they're not exactly the same. Is that same value here at the very end? Because if they're not the same value here, if they're the same value here and the same value here, and it's the same curve, they'll be the exact same. It'll be the exact same curve here, and that's exactly what you want. You want them extending at the same rate. Otherwise, there's gonna be a very big problem. Here, well, it doesn't show it there for some reason, but this is what it does. It moves that whole thing out as one big plate, and then it pushes against the landing gear like that. Now, in a second, once to make sure everything's working properly and nothing's gone haywire, everything's good, I'll show you what this does. First off, you may have noticed that the only engines I have on this are these little puff engines back here. They're really just for fine control and moving around in a... Hang on, I think they came back.
We're waiting.
Yeah, they came back. There's the second stage burn. The second burn. Oops, I muted it.
Sorry, I misspoke. We are waiting for second engine cutoff followed by good orbit. Fun fact, stage 2 is approaching the coast of Africa right now. So it made quite some distance in the little bit of time that we were coasting. And second engine cut off as we lose the cheesy orange glow of MVAC there. So we're waiting on that confirmation of
Hand nibbles.
Orbit insertion for payload deploy.
And we have confirmation of good orbit. So now that that's the case, we will be coasting for the next 5 minutes or so. So we'll be back just before T plus 33 minutes for satellite deployment. Stay tuned.
All right. So you probably missed the beginning of that, Nibbles. What they basically did was you saw the launch, and then after the launch they coasted for what, like 28 minutes. Well, 18 minutes, because it launched at about 10. Over here to the equator, where they burned to increase the high point of the orbit. High point of the orbit would be on the other side, in the sunlight. They also flattened it out a little bit. They flattened it out like this, because the target orbit for these satellites is, that's loud. Target orbit for these satellites is a flat. It's a 0-degree inclined orbit right above the equator, where the satellites will just sit there in one spot so they can point their antennas down, so they can give like TV or radio or something like that. I don't know what. Anyway, it's going to be about 3 minutes. So I guess I have time for a quick demonstration of this. While we were in the break, I was showing off. No, I didn't want to do that. No, whoa, that's not what I meant to do. That's what I meant to do. So, while we're waiting for the stage to get to apoapsis, for the second stage of the rocket to get to apoapsis, I was just showing off this. This is all the it's the hot topic in Kerbal Space Program at the moment. It's a, well, I'll show you what it does. As I was saying before they came back, you see only these 4 engines, and only this fuel tank for conventional rocket fuel. Nothing else. There's no other fuel on board. Just the monopropellant and a whole lot of battery from all of these RTGs. What this does is, if we go out here and set a, well, we could do, I think, the back for payload deployment. No, not yet. Where are we in relation to the moon? We're already over the horizon. I'm not entirely sure this is going to work, actually. We'll set Minmus's target. We'll have a point at the target. Good. You see the drive is activated? I'll leave that one for demonstration purposes. You can see that the drive is activated by the plate moving all as one unit. Pointing at Minimus. Good. And so what happens when we push the plate against the landing gear so far?
Welcome back once again to our webcast of JCSat-18. Second stage is currently over Africa.
I'm not getting the chance to do this, am I? the time for me? Quarter till 8 for me. 8 p.m. I'm thinking I'll take about an hour break from 8 to 9 so I can install Sims and everything, and I'll be back then. There's the payload deployment.
The deployment of JCSat-18 Pacific 1. I always love watching as the satellite floats away from second stage into space. Again, this was geostationary transfer orbit. So with that confirmation of deployment, we will bring our webcast to a close. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, you can look. Saw the reflection of the Earth on the solar panels.
Successful stage 1 drone ship landing, and as you just saw, successful satellite deployment.
Thank you to our customer, Sky Perfect JSat and to Pacific for entrusting us with today's mission. We also want to give a big thanks to the Air Force's 45th Space Wing for providing range safety, and to the Federal Aviation Administration for licensing the use of today's launch. Now, of course, we also want to thank all of you.
Acquisition of signal in Mauritius. That's the Indian Ocean ground station for SpaceX.
Until the next time, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Alright, that's that. Alright, back to this. You saw a little glimpse of what we were doing before went to watch the payload deploy. Which ways? There it is. Okay. As we push against the landing gear, we start to induce thrust. A lot of thrust. A lot of thrust. How much thrust? Sorry, had to throttle down for a second just to pin that. And we can go ahead and throttle back up. It seems to be working fairly well. 16 Gs of thrust. And then if we go back and look at the map, you can see that if we zoom out, we're getting this huge amount of delta V and performance to pretty much anywhere we want at the cost of nothing. This is extremely unrealistic, and only works in KSP because of a glitch in the game engine where if you push against the landing gear enough with, in this case, a grip pad on some pistons, it will cause an obscene amount of thrust because reasons. This actually isn't new. It's been around for years. This idea's been around for years, but recently with the robotic update they put out, the DLC that had the robotic parts like these pistons, you can now, and they also included same vessel interaction in one of the updates. I think maybe it might have been the same update. You can now throttle them. In this case, throttle them from this one from less than 1 G of acceleration at 3.9 extension all the way up to 16 Gs. And of course, since that costs absolutely nothing in terms of anything, any kind of resource or fuel or anything, you can do that as long as you want, or as long as the drive, lasts. These things aren't exactly the most reliable yet. Although, It should be noted that I think it was yesterday, the day before, took one of exactly the same, or almost exactly the same design as this one, from Minmus, low Kerbal orbit to Minmus and back to Joule, and I only lost one of the landing gear. And that was because of some random glitch where it just randomly and magically teleported outside of the ship. So yeah, let's see how long it takes to get to Minmus now. It normally takes about 20 days to get there. It's going to take me 30 minutes to get there. So yeah, it doesn't mean that much in this game. Although if you're trying to go out to Elu or maybe something like that, you know, just for fun, let's try and set up an encounter to get to Elu. See how long it takes. Oh, by the way, we're only going 24,000 meters per second, and that's actually pretty slow for this thing. You can get up to 100,000, 200,000 meters per second, no problem. We'll go ahead and slow down. Or I actually haven't tried going after Elu yet. Farthest I've been is Joule. It shouldn't take any longer to get to Elu than it would to get to Joule. Actually, it will. It took me 35 days to get to Joule at 100 kilometers per second. 100 kilometers per second. 40 to 50 days should be easy at 100 kilometers per second. If he managed to get to 200 kilometers per second, then, you know, it would be like 25 days to get to Elu. It's something that would take like 50 years if you use regular rockets to get out there. Yeah, the closest thing to this in real life would be warp drive, I guess, but this actually doesn't go faster than light speed. If you really wanted to, it could eventually go faster than light, but it would take, I think, yeah, someone did the math on this, and at 20 Gs of constant acceleration, which mine doesn't even do, mine only does 16, it would take 26 days to reach light speed. And it should be noted that you cannot accelerate time while using this, because it just it just doesn't work. Fortunately, you don't need to use time warp while using this, because you're going so fast you don't really need to, unless you're doing a until you're going fast enough you can just coast there in a few minutes. Now, as I was saying, it doesn't really mean much in this game, in KSP 1, because everything's fairly close together, and it's probably easier to make a rocket that can just go to Duna or Dres or Joule or even Elu with regular rocket engines than it is to make one of these, because as you can see, it's kind of complicated. But if you can figure out how to make one of these, which it's really not that hard when you understand what needs to be done, And this is actually a fairly simple one that requires that relies heavily on using lots and lots of SAS wheels. You can actually get... Okay, Nibbles. You can actually get, it's probably me. I'll turn it down to 720p when we come back for, Sims, for the Sims. Yeah, where was I? Yeah. This relies heavily on using SAS wheels. But if you can spin them, have two drives spinning in opposite directions, then the forces... These cause a huge amount of torque. I'll show you if I turn SAS off. See, they cause a huge amount of torque, and it just spins off like that. That's actually not a whole lot of torque. I thought it would be more than that. But still. An insane amount of torque. But if you spin the drives in opposite directions, say have one spinning clockwise this way and another spinning counterclockwise this way, the torque will balance it'll spin stabilize the torque. And so you won't need very many of these reaction wheels. You can get away with like one instead of however many that is, which is a lot. That also means you won't need anywhere near as much battery, because it won't use as much power, because it won't be fighting the torque with all these reaction wheels. All you'll be using is the power of that one reaction wheel and the pistons pushing against the landing legs. Alright, so let's see. Yeah, we're almost back. Let's go ahead and recapture. We just recaptured. So yeah, let's change our target to Elu. Set as the target. Point towards the target. This is how easy it is to use. So Elu's off that direction, a very long way away. It'll take a very long time to get there with regular rockets, but oh wait, we don't have regular rockets. We have this thing. Alright. So now, if we look... It'll still take a while to speed up, but unless you got a drive that can do 20 or 25 Gs. But yeah, it won't take nearly as long as just... Well, first off, your thrust is way higher than any rocket engine could ever hope to be in this game. Unless you're using one of the biggest rocket engines with only a little fuel tank that's going to run out after about 2 seconds. And your efficiency is basically infinity. So you can burn it as long as it'll last, as long as the drive will physically withstand the abuse of using it. And by the way, I've made it so this can be replaced and fly if necessary. Hopefully it won't ever be necessary. Hopefully I'll get to the point where it'll be so reliable that it won't need to be replaced. I've rated it as good on a 30 to 40 day mission, which saw me go out to Jewel, so. I'm going to go ahead and speed up to about 150,000 meters per second. That should get us up to Elu fairly quickly. This is just a prototype anyway, I can make a better one. One that probably goes a little faster. Although it should be noted that for some reason, these don't scale very well. What I mean by that is, if you take this and put 2 more on the side, it actually goes slower, but it is more stable. Well, usually more stable. I'm not entirely sure why. It's actually way more unstable when you're close to a planet, but way more stable when you're out here away from a planet. I'm not entirely sure why that is. It's just weird. How close are we to the sphere of influence, actually? Something else that needs to be said. Oh, we're not that close. Something else needs to be said. You do not ever use these when you're crossing the sphere of influence. Like when you're approaching the moon, Minmus, or leaving Kerbin, or one of those moons. Never have the drive engaged when you're crossing one of the borders, because it explodes. I'm not sure why, but it explodes. Yeah, as you can see, we're getting out there. How long will it take us to reach there? 192 days. That is way too long. We can do that in like 20 if we waited long enough. We could do it in 30 minutes if we waited long enough. It would take a heck of a long time to slow down. That's something else you have to take into account. You have to slow down afterwards. Yes, and because even this drive cannot ignore the fact that you have to it can't ignore, even though it defies Newton's second law, and actually the third law as well, I guess. It honestly just defies all of Newton's laws, but you still have to slow down. You have to put as much energy slowing down as you did speeding up. It obeys that law of physics, even though it completely ignores all the other ones. Yeah, they've been like 16 Gs of acceleration for quite a while, but I'm sure they're fine. Notice the speed. We're at 56,000 meters per second. Actually, I forgot that Elu was at that high of an inclination. I'm going to adjust this orbit anyway. Once I get to about 150,000 meters per second, I'll stop and then adjust the orbit. I'll put another one out here where I do this basically, and adjust the orbit like that. I'll do that, and then that'll put us on a intercept with Elu. You still have to do 2 burns with this. Well, you don't have to do 2 burns with this, but it's still better if you do it that way. Because even with all these reaction wheels, it's not exactly the best at pointing in the right direction. It's probably my next phase for this, the counter-rotating inline drives. Those are really cool. Way more complicated than this. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it. Just had to make sure I didn't have infinite electricity on, because I wasn't using electric charge, but that's probably because of all those. Yeah, I mean, it's not as fast as it used to be. When this was stripped down with just this and the drive, it didn't even have fuel at the beginning. Like when I was developing it, it was literally just the cockpit and the drive section as a prototype rig. It would go at like 25 Gs. It was fast. Then of course you can just test the drive on its own. It'll go even faster then. And of course you can throttle back. And we're still accelerating at 3.3 Gs. Doesn't look like we're moving, but we're still going faster. And we can see Kerbin going back in the background. Not time warped at all. I kind of want to fly by a planet really fast at 83 kilometers per second just to see what it looks like. We'll do that with Elu. We'll fly by it at like 150 kilometers per second and see what it looks like. And then we'll loop around and capture there. You could even land with this. I wouldn't recommend. I tried landing with this, and it. Well, let's just say I crashed it, and it didn't really work very well. And since that's the only propulsion system for this thing, I was. It didn't break any part of the ship. It literally just broke the reactor rods, the landing gear. It just broke that. Didn't break anything else. It just broke the only thing that I needed to work. The one thing that it needed to work, and that's what broke. We'll keep going until 100,000 meters per second, then we'll adjust the orbit. Let's see, how long will it take now? 69 days. Still not fast enough. It's actually a fairly functional ship, to be honest. If I can get the version that I have where it's 3, well, it's 2 of these on each side with one payload bay open, with this being the same, that would be a very very capable ship with huge cargo capacity, both in terms of size and payload mass. Because there is a limit of weight you can push with this thing before it starts to break. Because the thing is, you have to custom build these things. You basically have to custom build them for the amount of mass you want to push, because they do not scale well with mass. If I took this thing and put one of them in a ship like 3 or 4 times this size, it would probably just break instantly. There we go, 100,000. We can just stop. And then, how long will it take at this speed? 50 days. It's about where I said it was, wouldn't it? Wasn't it? I think it said 40 to 50 days. There we are. I'll speed up after we, Oh right, I can't do that because they're knocked out. There we go. Focus view. We're gonna want to aim to where Elu's gonna be in 50 days or so, which isn't gonna be very far ahead. There we go. We have an encounter. Oops. There we go. Really? That's all it needs? 6 kilometers per second delta V? Compared to what I've already put in, that's nothing. Alright then. Just point at the node. Warp to the node. And then we'll... It's not going to take 5 minutes. It's acting like I'm going to do the burn with these engines, which I'm not. First off, I don't have the fuel for that. Nor do I have the thrust, because it'll take 5 minutes to do that. Well, 4 minutes. Well, no, 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is... 6 kilometers per second. It's hard to... It's when it comes to timing burns, it's the hard part, because until you become really familiar with how these drives work, it's hard to judge how long a burn will take. I'll give myself about 30 seconds. Oops, I vastly overshot by an hour. Huh. Well, it shouldn't make a difference. We're going to want it to be sort of accurate, so I'll throttle down to 4 point... throttle down to 7 Gs. Nah. Throttle up to 10 Gs. Yeah, whatever. It'll put us in the ballpark. When it comes to this drive, you don't have any efficiency to worry about losing, so... You can just make as many burns as you want until you get it right. Whoops. Yeah, this thing has obscene thrust, and it also has very low amounts of thrust. It's very highly throttleable. You can even make one hover under gravity at the Space Center. If you configure a drive just right, so that one of these nodes is at, or even if you configure the throttle, which I haven't bothered doing because I don't have any need to. They're back, so you can do that. You can basically make it so it's exactly at 1 G of acceleration. to counteract the 1g of acceleration pointing downwards from Kerbin's gravity. And that'll give you levitation, basically. Let's point prograde and go faster. Because who wants to spend 60 days getting out here? It's still got a bit of torque problem, but that can be solved by doing the inline rotation, the inline spinning drive, or the or just adding more of these. I have noticed that for some odd reason, and I'm not sure what it is, I've been watching the acceleration this whole time, and it seems that I'm getting lower thrust the further I get away from the sun. Not by a lot, but you'll notice, if you remember, I got just over 16 Gs when I left Kerbin, and now I'm at 15.5. And so now we just accelerate. Well, I don't have any control, so accelerate is what we're going to do until I turn the throttle off. How are we looking? Yeah, well, we're still in the right ballpark. That's easy enough to adjust later. Alright, I should probably change over from the... Messing with Kraken drives in KSP. Kerbal space program. Update information. And we're just casually going 120,000 meters per second now. Getting mine up there, right on up there at about 130,000 meters per second now. How long will it take to get there now? 40 days. We can get that down even further. Yeah, like I said before, it will take an equal amount of time to slow down once we're out there. And if we didn't slow down, we'd just keep going. We're well beyond the escape velocity of the sun, so... So if we didn't stop, or slow down, then we'd keep going forever until it just despawned because it's gone outside the universe play box or whatever it is. We'll go to 150. 150 should give us probably about 30 days of travel time. You know what? To be honest, I'll just go. I won't even bother slowing down. I'll just go right by it at 150 kilometers per second, just to see what it's like. Well, they're not passed out in there. I guess I never got around to doing a animation for being passed out when you look inside the cockpit. Oh, we're past 150. Now, I don't think KSP takes relativity into account, but at this speed, they'd probably start experiencing some relativistic effects. Chief of which would be aging younger than the Kerbals back on Kerbin. Or aging slower, or is it faster? I don't know. They'd age differently. Because relativity is weird. When you go really fast, things start getting really weird. It wouldn't be, even at this speed, it wouldn't be enough to notice, probably, but it'd be more than... Oh yeah, they haven't come out of the comas yet. There we go. But even at this speed, it wouldn't be, it'd be noticeable. Well, not noticeable, but it'd be enough to notice with instrumentation, stuff like that. Okay, we need to add a little bit of this. We got too far. Haven't gone far enough up. That's the thing. I'm just trying to find the right node. There we go. I'm probably not going to be able to do this from this distance with the drive. I'll probably have to use the monopropellant engine for the really fine control. Yeah, let's buzz Elu at 12 kilometers at 150 kilometers per second. That sounds like a good time. Let's go ahead and do it now. I don't think it matters. We got some roll going on. Why do we have roll? Come to stop. Time to make sure the engine's in good shape. Looks alright. Sometimes it just be like that. It should be noted these things are still highly experimental. I don't have any idea why or how or what these things are doing. I just know how to use them and how to make them. Well, I know why they work, but and how they work. I just don't know all the intricacies of how these things work. I guess I have my own form of spin stabilization going on. Okay, let's start burning through this burn time. Oh, I kind of overshot a little bit. I already burned through the burn time. We can take a little bit more time off. 3.9. Okay, from here on, I will use the monopropellant engines. And that's what those are for. That's why they exist. That's the only reason they exist. Well, not the only reason, but things like that are the reason why they exist. The really small adjustments, and of course the rendezvousing with other ships. You don't really want to use this for that. Oh, it looks like we're gonna have to make another adjustment. How long will it take to get out there? 33 days. Didn't I estimate about 30? Went the wrong way. This takes a lot of time to get right, to set up right, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be well worth it if I can nail it. Oh, I would love to go at like less than a kilometer from the surface, but I'm pretty sure I'll hit a mountain. I'm gonna target like 5 kilometers, something like that. You know, that's probably a bad idea. I'll do 10 or 20 or something. There we go. I'll do half that. I'll do most of this burn with the Kraken drive, and then I'll do the rest of it with the regular engines. Look how fast the sun's moving. We just... How far do we go in that time period? In that quick... Like, that quick time warp? Went from, like, here to there. A time period of, like, 6 months. Regular time. Or something that took, like, 6 months in regular time. With a regular engine, with regular rocketry. We did it in like a day. 4 days. We'll set it to that. It's gonna take longer, but it's gonna be more precise, hopefully. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. Now from here, I'm gonna use the engines. Good. Okay, those are loud. I did not expect this to be that loud. And of course we can also supplement. Is it a good idea? No. Because, ironically, for whatever reason, having regular engines and this going at the same time leads to lower thrust in the drive. Not sure why, but it does. Set this up right, this will be so worth it. Closer. Let's go ahead and make another one to get it even closer. This one shouldn't need much burn time at all. This will be easy to do on the rocket engines. I'm taking so long to do this, to set this up, because this is going to be so cool. And it's so worth it. Yeah. I'm actually going to use MechJib to this because I want it to be very accurate. Is auto warp not on? No, it is on. And where did that put us? Exactly where I wanted. This is going to be cool. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the drive. Drive has been saved. Well, it hasn't been saved, but you know, it could still work. But it's not going to work because I don't have the window open. After the flyby, I'm probably going to have to flip around and do a Kraken drive burn really fast, because I don't want to end up sending these kernels out there. I'll probably drop a quick save and then end after this after the encounter. I'll go ahead and set to warp out there. It'll take 30 days to get out there. And look at how fast we're moving across the solar system. You can see the sun get dimmer and dimmer as we go farther and farther out. Can we see Elu coming up in the distance? I'm not sure. We're still a day out. It should be just ahead of us, but I don't see it. Anyway. Yeah, we crossed all of that in 34 days. To get to 34 days to get the Elu. Well, 35. There we go. Get that off the screen. Let's warp to the Elu encounter. See if we can see Elu coming up in the distance. No, I don't see it. I should see it. Is that it? I bet you that's it. Although this far out is probably so dim that you can't. Still on for the 10 kilometer. Oh yeah. We're only 12 minutes out, by the way. We just entered the sphere of influence and we're only 12 minutes from encountering. Oh wait, we're not even looking at Elu. No, we can't see it. Well, to be fair, I can't see it over there either. Wait, yeah, I think that's it there. Let's get closer and find out. Oh yeah, that was it. Let's warp till we're 2 minutes out, and then we'll do it in real time. We'll keep it in real time. This is, from now on, this is all going to be in real time. No warp. No time warp. And this is a flyby of Elu at 150 kilometers per second. Which is... Hang on. I'll do the math real quick. It's like something like a 20th the speed of light. Something like that. It's a 2,000th the speed of light. Oh, you can actually see it getting closer now. This is gonna be cool. Shall we get a onboard view? Oh, look at how close that, look how fast that is. That's coming up. This is a 10-kilometer pass too. We're not gonna hit the ground, I think. Unless there's a tall mountain, 10-kilometer tall mountain that I don't know about on Elu that we're gonna randomly hit. Oh my god. This is real time. That was worth the 40 minutes I spent working on that. Now let's put it around to capture. Or try to capture anyway. We're already that far away. we've got 12 minutes to slow down from 150,000 meters per second. I'm actually not entirely sure we can do that before we exit Elu's sphere of influence. Come on, there we go. Put that there. Let me get the Cal controller. So yeah, like I said before, this is horribly unrealistic, but it's a lot of fun to work with, and it'll be really, really useful in KSP 2 if the mechanism to do this still exists in that game, which it should because it's using the same game engine, and because it's a game engine bug. So it really can't be patched out, I don't think. And to be honest, it's part of the game at this point. The developers embraced it, so they've had more than an ample opportunity to get rid of it, but they've kept it. They've actually even referenced it in the developer notes. Oh, look at that! Look at that! That the escape time is not changing. Well, it's not changing very quickly. That means we're probably gonna be able to capture before we leave the sphere of influence. Actually, you know, it might not, but it'll be close. We'll be close enough. I wish I could accelerate into warp. That would make this a lot less tedious. It's still tedious to get out here, but at least it doesn't take the days, if not weeks, of engineering a huge rocket and the probably equal amount of time that I just took to in actual flight time at maximum warp. Actually, way longer at maximum warp. It'd probably take like 40 minutes at maximum warp just to get out here. Look, look. Time to escape is increasing. We're gonna capture. As long as I don't touch the throttle, we're gonna capture. And we're just now about to pass under 100,000 meters per second. Oh, we added about 10 seconds. Yeah, it's coming down nicely now. Now in a like something, if I were to use this in like an actual save, this is like it's a sandbox save, so I don't really care about totally breaking the laws of physics. I wouldn't have this many RTGs on here. I'd have enough so that I'd have enough so that I wouldn't be able to have constantly topped up electric charge. I'd make it so that using this would, you know, still obey physics, and you wouldn't be able to do anything with it. I'd make it so that burns like this wouldn't be possible in one sitting. Is it acceptable to call them burns even if you're not burning anything? I'll call them maneuvers, I guess. I can't call them like a reaction or anything because there's nothing reacting. It's just these pushing against this, and it makes a really good engine. I'm impressed with the reliability of this right now. This engine, at least for this ship, seems to be really, really reliable. Though I would like to maybe make a longer bay and have the spinning drives. That'd be cool. Make it a lot easier as well to fly it. So now we're down to 77,000 meters per second. And the time to escape is now a minute minute more than what it was when I last checked. So yeah, once again, we're at Elu. Look at the mission elapsed time. It's 35 days. Now you probably couldn't go much faster than this. Actually, to be fair, you could probably go twice as fast as what I did and have enough time to slow down. Because if you started slowing down right when you entered Elu's sphere of influence, then you'd have twice as much time as I did. And a little bit more, actually, to slow down. So you could probably go to Elu with a departing velocity of 300,000 meters per second and still be able to slow down with margin of error. So you could cut the travel time down to like 15 days. And you could go faster as long as you remember to turn off the drive when you pass through the sphere of influence. You start slowing down well before you entered Elu's sphere of influence. How are they doing in there? They look pretty good for jelly. Because right now we're accelerating at, almost 17 Gs. Elu's way off that way somewhere. It was only a few minutes ago that we went past. Now you can't even see it. Down to 50 kilometers per second now. That's how far away we are now. I don't know if you saw when we went past it, but we went past so fast that it didn't have time to render fully. It didn't have time to render under the surface. So that's the mission for another day. Go do a flyby of Elu at 300,000 or more meters per second. Do the same thing we just did, but twice as fast. You definitely would not be able to slow down before you exited if you did that, but as long as you wait until you let the sphere of influence or stopped when you're about to pass through, it's no big deal. With this thing, delta V is insignificant. It's irrelevant. Unless, of course, you don't have infinite electric charge. Like I do with all these things. Speaking of which, how's the cooling of those? 8.66%. Not bad. And of course the other consumable I have is the monopropellant, which I can turn off because I won't need those engines anymore. Yeah, all the monopropellant I have for RCS and the fine control engines here is just a Mark III monopropellant tank. 2100 units. That's all the rocket fuel I have. Actually, I have these two, which are 4 times 50, so 200. No, wait. 4 times... 4 times 50 is 200. Oh yeah, I'm forgetting the RCS up here, under there. That's where the... There it is. 2100, 200, 100, for a grand total of 2400 units. Which is easily mined just about anywhere. In the future, I'll be able to make versions of this that have the ability to carry a lander or mining equipment or whatever. I'd like to make big ones eventually, really big ones. I have a design that it actually works. To be honest, it's stable. It goes straight-ish. It just and it looks great in my opinion. The problem with that design is the pylons that I use to separate the drive from the body. The drive is not integrated into the body like this is in that design. They're on pylons sticking out like that. The problem is the pylons are not strong enough to hold the power of the drive. Oh, by the way, we're almost done. To hold the power of the drive. So they keep snapping. But we're back. We're not gonna escape the solar system anymore. Time to slow down. Still not captured. Time to slow down more. Still not captured. Time to slow down more. Now captured. Now we're gonna wanna go prograde a little bit. You're kidding me. I may want to use the engines for that. Oh, I'm gonna want to wait for the crew to recover first. There we go. We'll take it right in real close. That's we'll leave it in. And we'll warp down here. 168 days. No. No, I should just use the engine to burn back closer. Point radial in. To be honest, I have no way of knowing if that's where it is or not. We'll just hope that it's that way. I'll accelerate up to that much. That's good. Well, I kind of screwed up a little bit, but okay, I might have screwed up a lot. It's alright, nothing I can't fix. Come on. Might be good to point at the target node, but close enough. Well, almost close enough. There, instead of taking 100-something days to get there, We'll do it in 1. Come on. Come on. Good enough. Now let's see, where is Elu? Oh, there's Elu. Remember when we came by here a couple of minutes ago? And it was... yeah. went by in a snap. Perfect. And we're in orbit around Elu. I'm going to tighten up the orbit a little bit. So it's only going to take a few minutes or an hour or so instead of, you know, a day. And then I'll stop the stream, install Sims, and then all that. Drive is shut down. Drop my quick save. Here we are. Ignore that time is inflated by about 50 days or so, because I spent about 50 days out in high orbit of Elu. Because I'm an idiot. About an hour for an orbit. About 2 hours, looks like, actually. That's fine. And to be honest, if I wanted to go back to Kerbin, or really to anywhere in the Kerbin system, well, unfortunately, none of the planets are on the other side of the system for me right now, so I can't really get an estimate of how long it would take to cross the system. It's a shame. That thing's way out there. That's just a brief from failed experiments. Alright, so that's going to probably do it for this stream. We'll nah, I already saved. I'll go back to the Space Center. That should save it. Go to main menu. Switch to ending soon. Alright. That was pretty fun. That was really fun. That was a very interesting shot that I'm not sure many people have gotten, going by Elu at 150 kilometers per second. So yeah, I'll be back in about 45 minutes to an hour for The Sims. So I will see everyone then, if you decide to stick around.